Hello, Fuse Nation. My name is Alex Feuz, the host of Fusion News. We have a huge show for you right now. I am on the phone right now with Richard Justice, who is from MLB.com. So, Richard, I have to ask you, how important are the next games in the next week for the New York Yankees?
Well, this thing plays out over ebbs and flows over a whole season. So, do I think the next week is critical? No, I don't. It'll be interesting to see how the rotation shapes up without Sabathia and Jordan Montgomery fill that role. How is Sonny Gray and Jaime Garcia going to fit in all that? And if they get to the postseason, does Luis Severino start Game 1? This thing is it's a genuine. It's a marathon, and in the American League East, just for an example, it has we. If you look at it in one light, 10 days later, you might see it a completely different way.
Richard, do you see this Yankee team making a run into the playoffs this season, or do you think this is really just a rebuilding year, which was what the GM, Brian Cashman, thought this year would be from the beginning?
The Yankees are trying to do this difficult thing of contending and rebuilding at the same time. Can they do it? I don't think they ever wrote off the season. And so much has gone wrong, with Caprillion hurt and their number one prospect hurt, and now with Sabathia hurt. But they've hung in there. It's been great fun to watch Judge play, to watch Sanchez play. In spring training, we all thought Bird was the guy that was going to be their best prospect. I think they're plenty capable of competing.
Richard, I made a list yesterday, 6 teams that I think can potentially win the World Series this year: the Dodgers, Red Sox, Astros, Nationals, Indians, and Yankees. Are those 6 teams that, in your mind, could potentially win the World Series this year? And is it wrong for me to not put the Cubs in that list?
To me, postseason success comes down to how healthy you are and how you're playing toward the end of the year. Now, if the season ended today, I would say Boston. I would say St. Louis is playing very well. And then the Dodgers and the Nationals. The Cubs have had stretches where they've looked great, and they've had other stretches where they haven't. It seems like just when you figure out that Lackey, Arrieta, Lester have got it figured out, they go into a little tailspin. But the organization is so talented. We'll see. Let's see if a team like Pittsburgh gets to the postseason in some way. Well, they're going to have Garrett Cole, and lined up behind him, Cool and Tyon and another kid that's name's escaped me now. And who knows how Nova will be pitching at that point. So, you got a shot.
Now, what about the Houston Astros? They're one of the leaders in the American League, and they have really looked like the Dodgers of the American League. So do you think this Astros team could potentially make a very good run into the playoffs, even without Dallas Keuchel pitching the way Dallas Keuchel usually pitches?
It's hard for me to imagine without Keuchel, that when they were really good at the beginning of the year, 58-27, their team was built around Keuchel and McCullers at the front of the rotation, and Davinsky, Harris, and Giles at the back of the bullpen. Well, right now, Keuchel and McCullers are either hurt or not pitching well. Harris is on the disabled list. Davinsky's had some struggles. He looks worn down. And Giles has been pretty good. It's hard for me to imagine them, as they are today, even winning a playoff round. But the goal is to get to September 1 and to have everybody healthy. They're being very cautious with Carlos Correa, being very cautious with Will Harris, and they're working like heck to figure out and they're being cautious with McCullers. McCullers and Harris are back throwing. And they've got the luxury of a big lead in their division, and just to see if they can get September 1, September 10, and be the team they were for the first 3 months.
Now, the Indians made a trade with the Mets 2 days ago, getting that extra boost from Jay Bruce in the outfield. Do you feel like that move could potentially just add the boost that the Indians need to make that playoff run?
Well, I think they're going to rise or fall on that rotation. On the first day of the season, you would look at Cleveland and say, okay, that's the only perfect team in the American League. and they look pretty close to perfect. You know how that goes. Things don't work out the way you plan sometimes. But they've had stretches where Carrasco and Salazar pitch well. They've had other stretches when they haven't. Offensively, they had to do that because you don't know where you are with Chisenhall and with Brantley and with Tyler Naquin down. They needed another bat. As great as Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor have been, and Edwin Encarnacion has been the player that they thought he would be.
Richard, before we wrap up this interview, I want to talk to you about your career, and I have to ask you, what is the thing that made you want to become a baseball writer?
Well, I wanted to be a sports writer. I grew up reading the best sports writers, sports columnists in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I wanted that. I wanted to be a sports writer. And in 1984, I loved baseball. The first time I was ever in a Major League clubhouse was 1974. I was a college intern then at the Dallas Times-Herald. The night President Nixon resigned. And Billy Martin, Fergie Jenkins, and those guys were so nice to me. But in 84, I got a special opportunity to go to the Baltimore Sun. I was there 2 years, and the Washington Post for 16. I covered the Orioles for about 10 years. And I just thought that baseball lends itself to the written word, and the game itself is so timelessly beautiful. It just draws you in, and it's with someone who likes the written word, you have time to get to know players, what makes them tick, their insecurities, and all that. And in terms of just being able to report out a story, it doesn't get much better than that.
If you didn't become a baseball writer, what would you be doing today, do you think?
Oh, I'd be covering the NBA. I've covered 3 or 4 different NBA teams.
Okay.
I've covered the Washington Redskins for about a decade, so I'd be doing one of those things. It wouldn't be that complicated. I wouldn't be in med school.
Can I ask you an NBA question right here on Feuzion News?
Please. Yes.
Do you feel like Lonzo Ball is going to be the Rookie of the Year?
I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on that. I have never seen him play, and really most of what I know about him was from a Saturday Night Live skit about his father.
Yeah, his father is one of the loudest mouths in the game, and I'll throw another one at you. Do you think he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one?
You mean today?
Yeah, LeVar Ball, Lonzo Ball's father, says he can beat Michael Jordan one-on-one right now. So.
Well, I know Michael pretty well, and he may be the most competitive person I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched him both in baseball and in basketball. I would have trouble. I know he was a very competitive golfer. I don't know that he was a great golfer. I would have trouble imagining anybody beating Michael Jordan at anything. If we're placing $1, I'm putting my money on Michael Jordan for just about anything. But hey, I doubt that little matchup's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I know this: if it ever does happen, Michael ain't leaving the court until he wins.
Mm-hmm. Richard, I just wrapped up a 2-week sports broadcasting camp in Foxborough, New England, and what we had one day was a debate, and it was the greatest NBA player of all time. There was a group of kids that said Michael Jordan was the greatest player of all time, and then there was the people that said LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. I was sitting on the Michael Jordan side. Do you feel like there is any, thing in your mind that would hesitate to say that LeBron is better than Michael?
Those kind of discussions, you can't have those discussions without having Wilt and Bill Russell in there, without having Bird and Magic in that discussion, and Kobe and Michael and LeBron from this era. So you take whoever you want. I go back to Elgin Baylor and those guys. I can't imagine anybody being above Michael. One day I called like 3 or 4 different NBA coaches when I was covering the Washington Wizards. And it's so funny, that day they were all showing their teams. Every coach was showing their teams video from either the night before, 2 nights before. Of the Bulls are just beating the hell out of the Lakers, and it's the fourth quarter, and Jordan and Pippen are still playing their butts off on defense. And it was sort of a message. This is who Michael Jordan is, boys. The game is won, and he's not just trying to win the game. He's trying to humiliate you, and that's who Michael Jordan was as a competitor. I don't know if he's the best there ever was, but he's on the short list.
Richard, before we wrap up this interview, we'll get back to baseball. One way to speed up the game of baseball.
Oh, a pitch clock. Okay. That's simple. 25-second pitch clock, and you see it already. The commissioner would like to have it next year. He would like the players to be on board with it. He has the power to unilaterally implement it. And you see it already with kids, minor league pitchers that come up from the minor leagues and in leagues where they've had a pitch clock, and they do work at a better pace. And the scouts that I know that have been to Arizona Fall League where it is say when you leave, two things about the pitch clock. One, when you're at the game for an inning, the pitch clock disappears. And two, when you leave the game, you go, yeah, that was at a better pace. It would be a dramatic thing. It'd be a big adjustment for guys like Justin Verlander and David Price. But the game needs a better pace. Not shorter games, but a better pace.
Yeah, I was just at a minor league baseball game just a few weeks ago, and it was really an improvement, I think, on the game of baseball.
Did you notice the clock after a while?
I did. Yeah, it was like we got out of there. It was a 2.5-hour game. It was perfect.
Yeah. That to me is the ultimate solution we could talk about. I mean, there's going to be monkeying around with the strike zone and things like that. But ultimately, pitchers are going to have to deliver the ball faster. And this kid, the Brewers have a kid, I think his name is Brent Sutter. Could be Brent Suter. He's from Harvard. And he's one of these guys that works fast. He has to control the tempo. He doesn't throw a million miles an hour. And it was amazing watching Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge never stepped out of the box against him the whole at bat because he knew the kid would quick pitch him or whatever. But he got it over with,
Yeah. Well, Richard, I want to say thank you for taking the time to come on my show today. And where can the fans follow you on Twitter and follow you along for the rest of this MLB season?
Yeah, my Twitter handle is just one word, Richard Justice. And thank you for asking.
Yeah, great. And I hope to have you on again very soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a great day. Okay, Feuzion, you just heard it from Richard Justice from MLB.com. We talked some Yankees, Red Sox, Astros, Cubs. We talked everything baseball, and his favorite Michael Jordan story, well, that was very interesting as well, and the quickest way to speed up the game of baseball. The game of pace is very slow right now, but I think the pitch clock as well as Richard would work very well. Well, Feuzion, I want to say thank you for taking the time to come on and watch me here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. I want to say thank you for joining me. Follow me on Twitter at Alex Feuz. Be sure to like the video, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and I will be seeing you very soon. Thanks for watching.